Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review we're going to be looking at the Mass Effect 3 Play Arts Kai TALI'ZORAH Vas Normandy, or Tali, or Tali, or Tali, or whatever you call her. This is her, one of my favorite Mass Effect figures. I wasn't a particular fan of the character. I mean, she's cool enough, but she's kind of just a side character in my opinion, even though she was in all three games. I just didn't particularly ever have much of a connection to her, but the figure itself is quite nice. So I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I do recommend it. Let's do the height. As you can see, she's not standing perfectly upright, but it'll give you a good enough idea. She stands at just over 8, probably around 8.5 inches tall. And of course that depends on how you hinge her legs, but you can check out the other reviews to compare the heights to make sure she's in scale. I'll provide the links right there. And she comes with a few accessories. First off, she has 2 open hands, one for each side, detailed nicely. And then she has 2 trigger finger hands, which are almost identical. As you can see from the sculpt, the trigger finger hand is not all that different from the open hand, so I'm not sure why they did that. Maybe some fists would have been nice. But either way, she holds the gun, or at least the pistol. This is the Phalanx pistol, one of the accessories. She holds that pretty well. It's detailed nicely. You can see it's got the M and the S on there. If you turn it around, it has the S and the M. And as you can see, it's backwards on one side. So I don't know why they did that. Maybe it's like that in the game. I never looked that close, but any of the decal type work on these guns are mirrored. So it's M and backwards S. I don't know why they did that. Other than that though, the detailing is really nice, sculpt and paint wise. She also comes with the Scimitar Shotgun, which she doesn't hold as well because it's a little bulkier, but still well enough. As you can see, that says 72M, and that says M27. So yeah, I don't really know what's going on with the numbering on the guns, but still they look pretty cool. They're sculpted really well, and the paintwork is really nice on them. So those are the accessories. We'll set those aside, and we can talk about the figure. Now there's a couple things with this figure that are particularly unique to this figure. One is the knees. Similar to Garrus, but they're executed differently, and they are a little bit better, I think. Due to the armor on here, it hides the knee joint really well. Even if you bend it all the way, it's not particularly ugly. And even if you, oops, that's one of the things we have to talk about, by the way. We'll get to that in a second. Okay, so as you can see, she's got double jointed knees, and they're kind of reversed hinged. And they work really well. They're nice and stiff, and they are not nearly as problematic as Garrus. Same thing with her feet. She's got a bigger base to her feet, so she doesn't have any trouble standing like Garrus did. She's got the ball disc ankles, same as we've seen 100 times now. The ball peg in here swivels, so the thigh rotates around that. But these figures, the Tali figure, I don't know why it is, the hips are horrible. They keep falling apart and breaking. This is the second one I've had now. I've had to replace it, and I had to do some work on it too to get the hips to work. Some of them are super floppy, and some of them, like you just saw, keep popping out. So I don't know what the problem is. If you're careful, and if you're lucky, you'll get one that works and ratchets nicely. But they do pop out a lot, and they are problematic. So be very careful if you order this. Order it from someplace like Big Bed Toy Store or Amazon, who will send you a replacement if you have a defective one. I don't know what they did wrong in the hips, but they do fall apart a lot. Okay, but aside from that, they work really well. They're hidden. There is a floating crotch piece, or whatever you want to call that, and then on top of that she's got this wrap thing that is connected to the torso, the lower torso. It's technically supposed to be connected to this. That's why the paint lines up kind of, but it doesn't. And I think they should have made this longer and just kind of, not so it actually clips on firmly, but just so it wraps around a little bit to give it a little bit of a better look. But it's still done well enough to where it's okay, and there's really nice detail work on that. And if you look closely, you can see really nice detail work on her undersuit as well. So very cool. She has the same hip joint we already talked about, which is connected to the lower abdomen joint, so it's a separate piece. This moves independently, and then the torso moves independently again. So there's a bunch of ball joints in there to let her do that. Pretty good range of motion. It's a little bit limited just because she's kind of slim, but you'll get enough out of it to make it worthwhile. The wrists and elbows are the same as the ankles. We've seen those all before. Same for the shoulders. It's a ball disc on top of the butterfly joint. Doesn't have a whole lot of motion on the butterfly joint, but enough to where she can get some pretty cool poses with her guns. There is a bicep swivel hidden in the armor right there, so that's really nicely done. And then the head is on a standard ball disc, and you get pretty good range of motion even though she has the hood because it's a softer material. So you'll get really any posing you want out of her, no problem. So she has the hip problem there, and this could have been done a little bit better, but otherwise she's a really solid figure. And like I said, she's one of my favorites. She's very accurate. Maybe not exactly spot on perfect, but she's very accurate to the game, and she's executed very well. There's great detailing, and the joints are all good except for that hip problem, but as long as you're careful and a little bit lucky, you won't have too much trouble. So there it is. There's Tali from Mass Effect 3 by PlayArtSky. Check out the other Mass Effect reviews if you'd like. And stay tuned for more figure reviews and custom figures and other good stuff. And in the meantime, keep collecting.